Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. This is Josh. I'm going to be your presenter today. Welcome to our webinar event on accounting tracking credit card purchases in Church Windows Accounting. There are two primary methods that we recommend for setting up and tracking credit card purchases in Church Windows, okay, in accounting, all right? The first page there talks about credit card option number 1. Now, this is the one that the bulk of our users use, okay? Essentially, what they do is they set up in the chart of accounts, an accounts payable vendor, a payee for the credit card company. In our case here, we've got one set up called Visa Chase Bank, okay? We simply go into Enter Bills, and we enter all the bills, from the statement for that particular month, and record those as a bill, and we record it, as a subsequent payment. We then, and I've got a few bills that I've entered here retroactively. We're assuming here that we're entering now May's, May's credit card statement is now coming due in early July. So we're now getting those, we're getting ready to pay that May bill now here in the first week of July, per the credit card statement due date. So going into Enter Bills, we go up here, not into Enter Bills. If I go to Pay Bills, we're going to see here under Quick Pay and View Outstanding Bills that I have entered 4 different bills for Visa Chase Bank throughout the course of the month of the May. And the reason why I've done this way is, folks, if you choose to set up your credit card payments this way, posting them all as to one particular vendor, you really do have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to record these bills. I work with some users who basically, as soon as they get, say, are handed a receipt from one of their users of the credit card that they've used it at a particular location with a particular vendor payee, they go right into Enter Bills and they enter that bill and they post it, okay? And so when they get into Pay Bills at the end of the month, they choose, all of the bills here that make up that particular balance in that vendor, okay? They then cross-reference that with the statement totals for that period and match it up, and they hopefully get to the same balance under the account, or the amount due, or the amount here if I do create payments. In this case, all 4 of these bills that I have entered total $2066.44. So then I would look at my charges in my statement for the month of May, and I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, okay, do I have $2066.44 in total charges on the credit card for that particular statement? And if not, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to figure out what the discrepancy is, okay? So these are all the different, so this is the way you could do this, is go in and enter all of these separate bills and then just clear them, check them pay now box till you get the grand total of the amount to pay that you want to pay. That's number 1 option when you've got the vendor set up as the creded card company, okay? So I'm going to discard this batch, okay? We're going to delete the entire batch and exit. The other option is that when you get the statement, so let's say I'm now backdating this into my month of May, because that's the month that the charges should be reflected on my treasurer's report, okay? So I would say choose May 31st. I can choose Chase Bank Visa, right? Visa Chase Bank. And now I can just continue to go down the list, right, and enter all of my, my expenses that I would charge here as one giant bill, essentially, okay? So if I go, okay, I had custodian supplies for, for a certain amount. Oh, Josh, come on, buddy. Custodian supplies, custodian. I'm having trouble typing today here, folks. So here I would tab over and I'd put in the amount and I would put in some comments here, and I could just continue to click the plus sign to the far right here, and I would do paper, and we'll say we purchased some paper for $45.67. And notice here I'm just continuing to enter all of the expenses to the respective, accounts that I'm wanting here until the grand total now equals here the amount that I want for the bill for that particular month for my payment. Okay, so it's really your choice. Okay, how do you choose to reconcile church windows and you're entering your bills and you're paying your bills process with your credit card statement? You could do anywhere in between what I've just shown you here. Entering them as they're coming in with their separate dates of their bills, or literally just go in and enter one giant lump sum bill as long as the total matches and it charges the expense accounts correctly. Okay. And that's essentially what the first one talks about here on pages 1 and 2 of our document here. Okay. What I could also do here is in my line item comments, I can also over here in the line item comments enter which vendor or what store the credit card was used, because that's kind of steering us into our option number 2 for credit cards, posting credit card payments. Is folks call us a lot and they go, well, Josh, what if I want to record which vendor or payees where my credit card was used? Well, that kind of changes things, okay? So because if I do it this way, my vendor is Chase Bank Visa. It's not where the card was actually physically used. So if I did this method, I might need to come over here and enter in line item comments, where my custodial supplies were purchased, okay? That's still not going to show up against my vendor called Walmart. This is just notating for reporting purposes where the credit card was used, okay? If I wanted to, I could even put in a date here. And, over here under paper, I could put in, Office Max, and under postage, USPS. Okay, so I can then see when I'm looking at reports where they were, but that still never shows up against the vendor in question. Okay, so now I would just do done add to batch, and then I would do post or post and pay these bills. And if I do post and pay these bills, I'm going to say no to printing that. Here's all of my new charges, and then here's all of the other ones for May that I can now check, right? The pay now box down the left side. And we now notice that our amount to pay here, let me get out my little drawing tool here, draw a little focus here. Right here, this amount to pay right in the center is the $23.59.01 that represents the amount of my balance for the month. Okay, so as long as I've got that amount matches what I want to pay them, I'm good to go. And over here on the left, I can change my amount, my date. So let's say we're paying it here today. I choose now my Huntington Bank checking account because I'm actually going online and paying my Visa bill from my checking account. So I'm going to change my, once I've verified my amount to pay, I'm going to choose EFT. I can print a check if I want, and then I could enter any desired payment transaction comments if I want, and then post that payment, okay? So that would then post that. But again, this is just posting. All I care about is what did I buy? So in this case, with my expense accounts, what did I purchase? Where I purchased it in this case is of little or no consequence. So I don't really care about that if I were to post that that way, okay? So that's how I would do this if I were just wanting to keep it the most simple method possible. Would be to set up my credit card vendor, enter and pay my bills, charging the various expense accounts, and entering the necessary bills that I want to charge the various expenses, and then pay that from my checking account, all right? That's the distinction on option number 1 on pages 1 and 2 of that document, okay? I'm not going to post this payment because I want to use this as a method for option number 2 here. So we've got about 10 more minutes here before I can, before we're going to need to wrap things up. So I want to get on to number 2 because this is one we're getting more and more questions from and about, okay? So I'm going to delete that batch here. Those bills aren't going anywhere. They're still outstanding. Page 3 talks about option number 2, credit card processing with the credit card as an asset, okay? And what that means is, I should go in and post that because those are not due anymore, and that's not how I'm going to do that. So we're going to do computer check, no EFT, 627, and post. Okay, so The option number 2 is that we get a lot of calls from folks in churches going, well, I want to be able to record the bill and the payment for where the vendor where the credit card was used, okay? And there's really one and only one method of being able to do that, okay? And that is to set up an asset account for your credit card, okay? So we're going to go into our chart of accounts, and we're going to go right here to Tree View, and we're going to right-click, and we're going to say Add New Asset, and we're going to call this Credit Card I'm just going to call it credit card, and we're going to put in Visa, okay? And account number is going to be 130-100, and we're going to click OK. Oh, it looks as it's already in use. Oh, it is. Shoot. Sorry, folks, that was on me. How about 120, 200? And okay, there we go. So this now allows me to go in and record these bills to my credit card vendor, okay, or my credit card asset. You'll see momentarily. Everything under Enter Bills is going to be virtually done just like it is normally. So here I would go, okay, I'm paying City Florist, and I use my credit card, and I'm going to enter flowers as my expense account, and I'm going to put in the amount that I paid and spent in flowers, and then I would tab over and click my plus sign. Oh, then I would click Done, Add to Batch. I've posted my one for City Florist. Then I would go up and I would choose my next vendor, say Clark's Organ Repair, and I would put in my building fund expenses for organ repair. And we're going to say, you know, Done, Add to Batch. So we're going to say now that we've posted and paid both the City Florist and Clark's Organ Repair with our credit card. And so we would do post and pay these bills just like we would normally. So we're not going to print the report of the bills. But now, when we're now ready to pay our bills, we're not going to be paying it from our Huntington Bank checking, because my credit card was charged for that, not my checking account. Okay, I'm not paying the credit card company at this point. I'm just recording in the software where those credit cards were used. So here I'm going to change and choose my credit card Visa for each one of these. Okay, so now, and the amount to pay is correct. And here we can just choose our credit card as our payment method, because that's the reality, is credit card. Now here's what I want to show you, folks, is when we go up here to show running balance, we now notice that our credit card Visa account had no balance to pay, and it's now showing a deficit or negative balance of negative $1,913.46. Okay, so therein lies where the challenge comes in, because this is where folks get really confused. All right, so now I'm done. Let's say those are the only charges that I've had so far, and I'm now ready to pay this bill. Okay, so I'm posting these, okay, to show where I've actually used that credit card for both my City Florist and my Clark's Organ Repair for reporting purposes. So I'm going to post. Okay, that's just warning me about the associated asset. Yeah, I'm going to pay it, and we're going to print it. So now I'm ready to pay my Visa bill for those payments to both of those vendors. What I now do is I go up to Transactions, right here to Transfer, and I'm now going to say, okay, I'm going to just post this as a July payment, advance dating that or predating that or post dating that. So here now we're going to go from my Huntington Bank checking account, right? I'm paying from my checking account to my credit card Visa the amount of the $1,913.46. Okay, payment method can be however I want. If I'm paying them electronically, choose EFT. If I'm wanting to print a check and send it to them, I can choose computer check. It's entirely up to me. Okay, we're going to choose EFT. And we can say, you know, enter comments of some kind, but then we click Done, Add to Batch. And if we click, like we've done before when we're looking at other transactions, if we click Show Running Balance, we now show credit card Visa, negative 1913.46. Transaction effect is the amount of the payment. The adjusted balance is now 0. Okay. I'm living and working on a cash basis, so whatever I'm charging on that, I'm paying. I don't want to incur any, finance charges or interest on my credit card. But if you are working and living on an accrual basis, okay, then whatever the adjusted balance is left would be whatever the remaining balance is I still owe, and would be ones that I might have to enter or record finance charges are on, say, my next month's bill, okay? So in this particular case, it's showing a reduction in that credit card Visa because I have paid that. It's now less negative, or in this case, it's now 0 to show that I've paid them, and the money's being withdrawn or paid out of my Huntington Bank checking account to reflect that payment. So this is doing exactly what I want, okay? So I would now go ahead and just post this transfer like I would any other transaction, okay? And the thing about this is this transaction transfer will reconcile on my checking account perfectly. It'll even reconcile on my Visa account too, in the sense that my credit card, in the sense that I've got a payment against that, or I've got a withdrawal from my checking account. So it really does reconcile perfectly on both sides of those accounts, exactly the way that I would expect or want them to, okay? Yeah, the transfer, folks, in this particular case is really, really important in terms of getting that. You could do a journal entry too. Could do a journal entry crediting the checking account and debiting a credit card asset account. The difference is I don't have a payment method option when I'm doing a journal entry. Can't print a check if I needed to print a check or enter a check number other than in the comments. So let me take a quick look at our document here. Handling a credit, a return on a credit card statement. Yeah, folks, the bottom of page 4 there does talk about how when you are entering the bill for the credit card, if you're, entering it here as a enter bills and you receive a credit, say, from a vendor, you're still going to do the same thing. You're going to post that, crediting that, checking the box here labeled credit memo right here in the middle. And let me get out my drawing tool here and draw some focus. We're talking about right here, this box called credit memo, okay? So then what that does is it allows you to be able to post a bill and then reflect a reduction in that expense account and show a credit balance back from the vendor in this particular case. Yeah, the returns when this method occurs is all handled in transfers or in bills the other way, right? You enter the bill until you have a new charge from the particular vendor, you can't really pay it, okay? But that's what that's talking about down there when entering the bills. Choose the expense account, reduce it, check the credit memo box, okay?